welcome back to the Joseph Ryder Anderson podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Anderson, recording live from the JWA studio. And today we're going to be talking about the solo leveling rare battle season that is now upon us. If you have been living under a rock, you may not know that the rare battles have changed a little bit this time around. So unlike before, where the top four would get a union rare just for getting top four, now only the top two players are going to get a prize. So you do get a participation pack, which has some potentially valuable cards in them, especially like the 2-cost Yahiko, which is a card that had been missing from the original Kenshin set that you can now get. But the really cool thing are the two Sung Jinwoo winner cards. So one is a winner card, one is just a union rare. But the thing is, the union rares used to be worth quite a bit less than the union rare stamped winners. But I think with the population size decreasing, right? If you have essentially before, union rares were 3 times the population of a winner, whereas now they're actually literally the same. So it's not so much of a difference in rarity as it is a difference in preference. I think people will still prefer the winner just for the status of having a winner card over having the union rare, but I don't think the price difference is going to be super drastic between the two. So all that being said, there's a whole different kind of vibe with the rare battles this time around than usual, especially with solo leveling. From what I've experienced, there's still a lot of hype for the other rare battles too, but solo leveling seems to be the highest hype. We've had people throwing around numbers that maybe the solo leveling winner card is worth $500 or so. We don't really know yet; it's still kind of early, but it's definitely a different kind of vibe. It's harder to get into rare battles. You have to really have to have planned ahead for the rare battles to get in for most of them, especially solo leveling. And it's a bit more competitive. I know at mine, even after the tournament was over, people were like reloading their phones, trying to hoping that they might be the ones to get second place, right? Because of how the Bandai opponent's win average stuff is calculated. So it's a different kind of vibe, a bit more competitive, especially with those higher prices on the line. But the thing that's really crazy to me is when the rare battle I went to, it happened just about a week after the regional that Shadow Army won. And Shadow Army was everywhere. I knew Shadow Army was going to be the deck to beat, but what we're seeing with Shadow Army is it is kind of looking like it may actually be the best deck right now, especially after, at least as far as creds go, right? Especially after winning 2 back-to-back regionals, Shadow Army seems like it's the way to go. And why is that? What is it about Shadow Army that makes it so strong? Well, I think a lot of us definitely thought it was strong. I know I myself definitely thought it was an upper tier deck. But I think a lot of us missed how vital some of the board free plays are in that deck. I think when you look at that Shadow Monarch card, it's like, okay, well, it brings back 1 character set to active, or it brings back 2 smaller characters. But the thing is, because of how the Shadow Army deck works, with how strong the Monarch circle is, it's essentially bringing back 2 smaller characters that can easily boost 4,000 BP plus characters plus benefits, right? Like that Kaisel that can make a card that was originally 1,500 or less, be able to attack through 4,000 BP characters is really strong. Things like that. I think the Shadow Army is just very much a next-gen deck, and a lot of us missed that at first, but it certainly is a next-gen deck with the ability to free play so many characters, the ability to boost low BP characters up to high BP characters, and then that insane finishing move via the 12-cost Sung Jinwoo that can switch 2 cards to active, one on the energy line, one on the front line, so you can reuse a Monarch circle. You can switch another 4,000 potential B plus BP attacker to active, and then also get the snipe and impact. It's just an insane closing move on top of being able to push through so many powerful attacks. So at my rare battle, I think 6 out of the 8 decks were Shadow Army. I did not bring Shadow Army. I was bringing the deck that I originally liked best from the set, which is the Purple Mill deck with Jinwoo and Cha, and the Purple Mill deck is really strong. I didn't have all the cards. I had just built this deck. I had just picked it up. I think I just built it a couple days earlier and was testing it a little bit, but this was my first time playing it competitively in a tournament, which, if you haven't experienced this, playing in a tournament is definitely different with a new deck than it is how it feels versus testing. So it was interesting to take that deck to a rare battle. I did end up getting second place, and I have the Union Rare Sung Jinwoo. You can see that right there. Very beautiful card. I really like that card. So I did bag that, second place. I faced down 3 Shadow Army decks to do it. Basically my strategy going into this was let's build the deck so that it can be a bit faster. Let's add in a little bit of more zero cost to get a little more rush, some characters that can boost their BP. We'll get into all that in a moment when we look at the deck list. But I think that really helped. In order to win via that specific matchup, if you're interested in playing Purple Mill, and I don't think it's a horrible matchup. A lot of people are making it sound like it's a horrible matchup. It's really not. I think it's a decent matchup for you. It's just one of two things has to happen for you to win that game, and preferably two things happen that can help you win that game. And in the games that I won, both of these things I'm about to tell you happened, and in the game I lost, neither of them happened. So in order to beat that particular matchup with Purple Mill, you have to either have a really strong early game where you take a lot of life early, a very aggressive early game, and the deck I built is designed to do that, or you have to hit your 20 sideline earlier, basically ahead of when they hit their Sung Jinwoo, who can do all those cool things. Those are the ways you win into that matchup. If you can hit one of those, you have a much higher odds of winning. If you can hit both of those, you have a really strong chance of winning. Unless if something weird happens, you probably are going to win that if you hit both of them. If you don't hit either of them, the odds of you winning are very unlikely. So in the final game, in the two games that I won, I started really strong. I definitely hit those early game attackers. In one game, I got my opponent down to like 4-ish life by like 2 turns in or something like that. A couple turns in, got my opponent down to like 4 life, and then I was just able to close out via specials in the 5-cost Sung Jinwoo. That's what you're really looking for. That's the optimal situation where you are getting your opponent down in life early and then swinging through with that fully powered up Sung Jinwoo, bringing out the Cha. If you can hit that point, you definitely have a strong chance of closing out the game. Now, in the game I didn't win, I had a very slow start. I only had 2 low-cost characters in my hand. I missed out on the rush play, and I basically was behind the entire battle, and I did not ever get to the point of having 20 cards in sideline. I was about 1 turn away from dropping a couple of 5-cost Sung Jinwoos. Now, a lot of people also in this matchup want to say, oh, go and raid up your 5-cost early, control the board, stuff like that. The problem with that is if you do that, you use your 5-cost Sung Jinwoo early, you're kind of like just doing their job for you. You're helping them stall. You're not getting the impact. You're not getting the powerful free play. In other decks, it makes sense to do that. For example, into my favorite progressive deck, I did some testing in a progressive. It has nothing to do with rare battles. I was just testing it differently. Into progressive, where they need key pieces and these big 4,000 BP characters, you can do a special and then a force block, get rid of one of the characters, force the block with the other. Totally go for that. That pays off dividends like crazy. Into a Shadow Army deck where they have 2 Shadow Soldiers up that they can boost, and early on they're not boosting by that much. Raiding up your 5-cost Sung Jinwoo to kill a Shadow Army character that can easily be brought back, 2 of them, with Shadow Monarch, that you're not getting a ton of value out of that. You really need to be looking for those hits where you're taking out a removal and getting an impact with that 5-cost Sung Jinwoo if you can. There are situations where it does make sense if they have particularly strong Shadow Army characters on the front line, that getting rid of them makes it so that you can get more attacks through like that, especially towards the early middle game. It makes sense. But if it's a situation where you're just using up those 5 costs and then lose finishing power, it's not the greatest situation to be in. So what I did in both my battles is I really prioritized my smaller units first to just take out the weaker Shadow Army characters and save the 5 cost either for when he could do the impact or when he could take out some bigger characters that were a problem and clear up a board that I could get a bunch of attacks through. The game that I lost, we were trading heavy blows round after round. I did a really good job of building up a front row of 4-cost characters, but my opponent basically just stalled out by sacrificing the Shadow Army characters, then bringing them back with Igris and Shadow Monarch. In that situation, a 5-cost Sung Jinwoo was basically useless. I needed to get him to impact, which I was trying to do, and I did not move fast enough in that game. So I say all that just to help you out. I'm still super happy with getting second place with my first time out with Purple Mill. I think that was fantastic, and I definitely have a lot of improvement to make on my own deck, especially just missing a few cards. I was missing 2 of the 0-cost Sung, I think it's Sung Yi. I will look at that in a moment. The one that lets you draw a discard, I was missing 2 of those, and I was missing an Arise. My friend was supposed to bring them, and he forgot. All good. He's going to bring them next time. Hopefully we'll go for a winner card next time. With all that being said, I think it's a little interesting having a format with this deck that seems to be perhaps the best deck in the format, and no other decks that really counter it. It's definitely a tricky format to go into, but if you're brave and want to try something different than Shadow Army, this video is for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list I used to top my first solo leveling tournament. All right, so here is the deck that I used to get second place at the solo leveling rare battle. This deck felt super, super good, and I'm for the most part doing a standard mill list, I would say, except for a couple of changes. Some of these changes were purposeful, intentional, and some of these changes were also slightly because I was missing a couple cards, so I had to make do. But one change that was sort of both was this SL card. So typically you would run 4 of these. This card's really good in a deck that you want to mill with. For some reason, I only had 2 of these. I thought I had more going to the tournament. I actually only had 2 of these, so I had to find something else to use. So I went with this 0 cost SO, which is actually pretty good with a win sideline that lets you draw a card and a draw trigger. This card did come a lot in handy. Basically, was a free block that I could use to help stall out when I'm getting to 20 cards in sideline, and it was also especially good when I got to hit it off of a purple color trigger. So I sacked it, drew a card, brought it back, sacked it, drew a card. Super handy that way. But go ahead and play around with which one you prefer. I think there is something to be said in a build like this. If you'll notice, I'm running about 14 0 cost characters, or 14 including the fake 0 cost 2 cost Jinwoo. But I think that there is something to be said where you can push this up, take some hits. You could even boost this via your 2 cost Sungyi or your 0 cost Sungyi. You could boost this up to a 1500 BP attacker that also has some benefits when it's sidelined from your field. So that's sort of the play I went for here. I knew I'd be facing some Shadow Army decks. I didn't know it would be as so dominantly Shadow Army as it was, but I wanted to build something that could move quickly so I could kind of get under my opponent before they ramped up super to their stronger plays. And that is one weakness of Shadow Army, is it does have to do some ramping up. It does need a lot of pieces in play to meet its full power. So a deck like this, you can certainly move a little quicker. I really love this Cha. I think this card is really good into the matchup. This Cha, you just discard a card from your hand, and what that does, that fuels your sideline, but it also boosts her up to a 3K, and then you have a lot of BP boosting. Great way to do this is to bring back this Sungyi with one of your Jinwoo effects, and then you can boost this up to a 4K. I did that in one battle to attack through an opposing Igris. It worked wonderfully. Now, what are some other cards in this deck? I think the only other tech option is this Park character. This is Jinwoo's mom, and she's actually really, really good. If you read the fine print, when she's added from your sideline to your hand by one of your abilities, so this could be Elixir of Life or your Sung Jinwoo, you play her set to resting on your energy line, and she has a win played that you put the top card of your deck in the sideline. So she's fueling your sideline. She's another free play. Why I included her in this deck, despite already being maxed out to that ideal 8 triggerless characters via the indispensable SL, 1 cost SL, and the indispensable 3 cost Sung Jinwoo, is that I wanted to be able to open up lines where I could play more aggressively, right? And I knew that playing into Shadow Army, playing aggressively would be one of the key differentiators. So I ran with 2 of these. So essentially you can raid up, for example, a 5 cost, and in other decks where sometimes raiding up a 5 cost depletes your energy line, in this deck, if you can bring back an energy line character when you attack and win a battle, that really helps make your energy line a bit more sustainable for the next turn. So that's something to consider. Definitely a tech option. Again, you're already maxed out at your trigger list, but I chose to run with her, and she definitely helped in the battles I won. She made a big difference being able to bring her back to fuel the sideline and to help solidify the energy line for the following turn. It was super helpful. I think the MVP really, though, was probably this 4 cost Sung Jinwoo. This guy is just so strong. The fact that you can use him to bring back that part character. You can use him to bring back any of your characters, really, that have those benefits. One of the key targets is the 1 cost SL. You can bring her back, draw, discard, which is really, really strong. But this Sung Jinwoo has a win play that lets you draw a card, and then you can bring back a character if you want to by discarding a card. And then he has a win attacking that lets you draw a discard as well. Great way to further fuel your sideline, and he also gains BP based on how many cards are in your sideline. So that card was really, really helpful into the matchups I faced. Another card that was really, really deceptively helpful and makes me even almost want to up the number of copies in my deck was this Demon Castle card, Demon's Castle. Just make sure you don't forget to use it in my first battle, because this was my first time playing competitively. I actually kept forgetting to actually activate my Demon's Castle in that first battle, but luckily I did use it in the second battle to help a lot with fueling the sideline. If you get one or two of these out. One thing I used to do when I was first testing this deck just a couple days ago is I would always prioritize getting the Sung Jinwoo out first, because it seems really good. Oh, you can immediately sideline 2 cards to the top of your deck versus just 1. But over time, Demon's Castle actually has a lot more value in terms of fueling your sideline than even the powerful 3-cost Sung Jinwoo. So if there's an option between the two and I don't need this one to raid with, I'll just plop down the Demon's Castle preferably so I can turn after turn add cards to my sideline. You get 2 of these out. That's a really strong play. And of course, you can even use that to play the Elixir of Life from your sideline and bring back one of your characters, either a Cha that will go active to your field or bring back a Sung Jinwoo to your hand that you can raid over. So that's really the strategy I went with. I wanted to go with, I think I have about 14 0-cost characters just to get that early game aggro in ahead of my opponent, and that was the play. So I hope that helps you get an understanding of how I built the Sung Jinwoo Cha mill deck. Give it a try yourself at your next rare battle. I think it's an excellent choice for the solo leveling rare battle, especially if you're looking to play something that's not going to be a mirror match all day long. But definitely be prepared for playing against the powerful Shadow Army deck that is definitely the king of the solo leveling rare battle format. So until next time, keep on battling.